We've spent the last 2 weeks looking at Romans chapter 12 and the transformation that God wants to see in our lives. Last week we focused on having a proper perspective on oneself. This week we want to look at the foundation of Christian conduct. So Romans 12, 9 through 13 says this. Let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in the Spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulations. Be constant in prayer. Contribute to the saints and seek to show hospitality. Now, this passage starts out with the foundation of what Christian conduct is. And then it begins to explain what it looks like. So this week we're focusing on how that love would look toward one another. Next week we will look at what that love would look like to those who are outside of the church. So the foundation of Christian conduct is love. Jesus singled out love as the essence of God's law in Matthew 22, 36 through 40. And the central demand of the new covenant in John 13, 34 through 35. So the first part of verse 9 says, let love be genuine. Now the Greek word for love here is agape, which to this point has been used in Romans only for divine love, chapter 5, verse 5, and chapter 8, 35 and 39. The only exception may be in Romans chapter 8, 28, where it is used for man's love for God. But agape love is different from the other forms of love, in that it does not depend on some uncontrollable inner emotion, desire, or a need for fulfillment. But rather it is a deliberate willingness to be concerned for the good of others based on the need of others. It's a God-like love, regardless of the circumstances. It's a deliberate love that decides it will keep on loving even if it's rejected. So in other words, agape love is unconditional. It's not dependent upon somebody else's actions, whether that's positive or negative. Love still loves the unlovable, and it bears with the unbearable. This is, as we mentioned, the type of love that God has for each of us. So not only are we to have agape love, but that agape love is to be genuine. Some translations say without hypocrisy. Literally, it means without a mask. Now, in the Greek world of Greek drama, the word hypocrite was an actor who projected a different image of himself, and he hides his true identity behind a mask. So the point here is that the love we profess must be sincere. It must be from the heart and not just an external mask only. I've seen way too many times people acting out love within the church. They put on a great mask, but as soon as they get behind closed doors, the true self starts to come out. Gossip starts to fly. Derogatory remarks run rampant. From an outside perspective, they look like they're truly loving others. But on the inside, there's only disdain and a hard heart. It's almost like the smile that we put on our face when a police officer hands us a ticket, but on the inside we're saying, may all your days be filled with traffic jams. On the outside, love seems to be present, but on the inside, only hypocrisy. But love is not an option for a Christian. The Scriptures repeatedly sets the requirements before us. It says, above all, love each other deeply, 1 Peter 4:8. The goal of this command is love, which comes from a pure heart and a good conscience and a sincere faith, 1 Timothy 1:5. All men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another, John 13:35. Did you catch what that last one said? All men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Our identity as Christians is most visible by our love for one another. So how is your love for those within the church? Do you love your fellow brothers and sisters? Or are there still grudges that are lingering? Are there resentments that just keeps festering? Or is there bitterness that just won't diminish? These types of feelings has no place within the church. Our love must be genuine. Our love must be without hypocrisy. Our love must be not a mask that we are covering up our true feelings. So now that we have laid the foundation of Christian conduct, let's move forward and look at the characteristics of love that is found in these few verses. First, love's integrity. Verse 9b says, abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Here, good and evil are general terms, representing everything that is morally wicked and ungodly, and everything that is morally good and holy. Some might think that love is to be soft on evil, but that's just not so. Evil is to be hated. Sincere love demands God-honoring moral resolve regarding good and evil. Now, the word abhor here literally means to hate strongly. So we are to hate strongly evil. The word hold fast literally means to cling to be glued to, or to be cemented to. Both of these words, abhor and hold fast, are strong, aggressive words. The message is clear. There can be no middle ground when it comes to morality. We can't hide behind some of our cultural moral relativism. God, or good and evil, are opposite, and they can't exist together. Christians must take a stand against evil and cling or be glued to what is good and holy. The next characteristic is love's commitment to the church. Verse 10 says, love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. In this passage, we find two more words for love: storge and philos. The first part, love one another, is a storge type of love, while brotherly affection is a philos type of love. And it's very interesting when you see what happens when you bring those two types of love together. Storge is a type of love that is characteristic of a relationship between a husband and a wife, a mother and a child, a father and a son, and so on. Or as one lexicon put it, it's the mother's innate love, benevolence, and devotion toward her children. As you can probably see, this type of love is an intimate love that should be seen within every family. The philos type of love is exactly how the ESV translates it. It means brotherly affection or brotherly love. An interesting side note is that the Greek word that's used here is Philadelphia. It's where Philadelphia got its name. It literally means the city of brotherly love. So when these two types of love is brought together, they paint a perfect picture of the kind of love that should be found in every home and within every church. It's a healthy family love where there has mutual respect for one another. They submit to one another, and they take pleasure in elevating other family members. That's what the last part of verse 10 is talking about. It says, outdo one another in showing honor. Outdo literally means to go before and show the way. So when we are showing honor, we're to go before and show the way. Now there's three possible meanings to that. First, it could mean that we are supposed to set the example when we are showing honor. Second, it could mean that we are to outdo one another in showing honor, which is the way the ESV translates it. Or it could mean that we are to prefer one another, or to put one another first, which is how the New American Standard in King James translates it. Whichever way that you want to interpret it, the point is the same. We are to go out of our way to honor our fellow brothers and sisters. I am to go out of my way to honor you. And you are to go out of your way to honor each other. L.O. Dawson, in his autobiography, tells of an interesting service in a church which had just buried their minister. On the following Sunday, a memorial was held in his honor, and a large crowd or congregation overflowed the house. One speaker told of his worth as a preacher. Another told of his tender care as a minister. Others spoke of him as a citizen. Some thought of him as a neighbor or a father, and so on. When it came his turn to speak, Brother Dawson spoke as follows. He says, "All you have said of my dead brother is true. He was out of the ordinary and gave of his remarkable power to your service without stint or reserve. But if you had, while he was yet alive, filled these pews as you have today, he would not now be dead. Empty pews broke his heart, and he did not know of the love of which you have been speaking. He died for the lack of the very thing that you have so beautifully said and done." How sad but true is that? We will go out of our way to honor someone who has passed on, but we won't even try to honor someone now. So my challenge is, try this week to go out of your way to honor someone. Honor simply means that you respect them, that you show appreciation, you're courteous to someone. The third characteristic of love is love's energetic expression. Verses 11 through 12 says, "Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulations. Be constant in prayer." Such fervent loving calls for our best, and it's costly. Luther said that he worked so hard that when he went to bed, he literally fell into it. In fact, on one account, they said that he didn't change his bed for over a year. That's tired. D.L. Moody's bedtime prayer as he rolled over into bed on one occasion was, "Lord, I'm tired. Amen." John Calvin's biographers marveled at his output. John Wesley rode on horseback 60 to 70 miles a day, and on average he preached 3 sermons a day. The word fervent here, and fervent in spirit, means to bubble, to boil, or to burn. It's used in regards to water as it's boiling, or the melting glow, or the metal glow of heat. Metaphorically, it means to burn with desire or passion. Bishop J.C. Riley, the first bishop of Liverpool, England, wrote on the subject of zeal. This is what he said. "Zeal is a burning desire to please God, to do his will, and to advance his glory in the world in every possible way. A zealous man is preeminently a man of one thing. He is more than earnest, hearty, uncompromising, wholehearted, and fervent in spirit. He sees only one thing, cares about one thing, lives for one thing, swallowed up in one thing, and that one thing is to please God. Whether he lives or dies, has health or has sickness, whether he is rich or poor, pleases people or gives offense, whether he is thought wise or foolish, gets the blame or the praise, whether he receives honor or is given shame, he burns for one thing, and that one thing is to please God. Such a one will always find a sphere for his zeal. If he can't preach, he will work and give money. He will cry and sigh and pray. If he can't fight in the valley with Joshua, he will hold up the hands of Moses until the battle is won." The fourth and final characteristic of love in this verse is love's care. Verse 13 says, "Contribute to the needs of the saints. Seek to show hospitality." Someone once said, if you want to see how mean a man can get, go at him with an offering plate. So here, Paul zeroes in on a very specific kind of need. It says, show hospitality. Hospitality literally means love of strangers, or to treat a stranger as a friend. He also brings out something both beautiful and convicting when he uses the word show. Show means to pursue or to chase after. The word sometimes implies a persistent pursuit. The idea is that a loving believer does not wait for a stranger to show up on his doorstep, but he goes out and he gets them. On this topic, Origen wrote, "How finely does he, Paul, sum up the generosity of the man who pursues hospitality in one word. For by saying that hospitality is to be pursued, he shows that we are not just to receive the stranger when he comes to us, but actually to inquire after, to look carefully for strangers, to pursue them and search them out everywhere." Now, of course, this was extremely important during the early years of the church, when believers was disinherited for following Christ. But today it's equally as important, because in many parts of the world there are similar situations that exist. Moreover, it's important to the life of the church everywhere. The benefits that mutual hospitality brings to the church is numerous. Relationships enhanced, love circulated, souls encouraged. All of us are to show hospitality. Peter puts it this way. He says, offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. 1 Peter 4:9. 3 John 5:8 shows us the importance of showing hospitality. John is writing this letter to Gaius, and he says this, "Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in all your efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testify to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God. For they have gone out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support people like these, that we may be fellow workers for the truth." This is one of the reasons why we support missions. And we give at least 10% of the contributions that we bring in. We understand the need to contributing to others who will in turn go out and spread the gospel for Christ. So let's review what we've seen. The foundation for Christian conduct is love. Love must be genuine. Love's integrity. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love's commitment. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Think about it. What would the church look like if we applied this kind of love within the church? Love's energetic expression. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Lastly, love's care. Contribute to the needs of the saints and seek to show hospitality. You know, we have yet to perfect this type of love that we're talking about this morning, that's talked about in Romans 12. To be honest, we may never completely get there. But to neglect trying would be disastrous. But there is one who has showed us what true love looks like. Christ, the sacrifice for humanity, gave us a glimpse of what true love is. Maybe you're here and you have not yet felt what true love feels like. Jesus' arms is open and waiting for you to come and surrender your life to him. If that's what you want to do today, you can. So whatever your decision is, come now as we stand and sing.